Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to make two sets of cards using both of our Daisy close-up stamps. For our Daisy close-up stamps, they're both 6x6 red rubber cling stamps. One is a 3/4 view and one is a full view, but I couldn't choose between the two, so I had to release both. I'll be doing some watercoloring with Ken Oliver Color Burst. However, I won't be painting with them like I usually do. I'm actually going to spritz them. Now, this is the usual way that people use them, and I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit and kind of use that technique today. I embossed the two images with our rose gold embossing powder onto some watercolor paper. I believe I'm using Canson XL 140-pound paper. Before I spritzed on the powders, I saturated the paper just a little bit with some clean water. If you have a spray bottle, that works. If you don't, you can just take a paintbrush and apply water to your paper that way. For this panel, I used Zest, Marigold, and Lime Green. So for that first layer of color for the Zest, I did move around the pigment just a tiny bit with my paintbrush. But for the rest of the card, for the Marigold and the Lime Green, and then for this blue and purple card, I actually kind of let the water and the pigment do the work. I try not to use my paintbrush for this card or for the, I guess, second half of the process for the orange and yellow card, because I kind of wanted to just go with the flow and use the paintbrush less and use kind of the spritzing technique. So I spritzed a little bit of the powder, moved it around just a little bit where there was too much of a concentration of powder, and then I spritzed some more clean water. For this panel, I'm using the Orchid and Cerulean Blue Color Burst. After I set the two panels aside to dry completely, I'm going to use some of our new word plate dies to die cut the sentiments right into the panel. I'm using the Thank You from our Bold General Greetings word plate collection, and then I'm using the Wonderful from our Bold Amazing Greetings word plate dies. So I taped the dies cut side down onto my panels, and then I ran the two panels through my die cutting machine. Now I'm just going to carefully lift up that die and then pop out all of those individual letters, but make sure you save them, because we are going to create another pair of cards at the end of this segment of the video using these die cuts. The pattern on these word die cuts were so pretty, so I couldn't waste them. I wanted to use them on another card. I made sure to save all of those inner pieces from those die cut letters because I will be putting those back into the original panel. Next, I'm going to trim off a little bit of the left and right sides of both my panels so that the white of my card base can show on the left and right sides of my card, just for interest. My panels are 140-pound watercolor paper, so they are a bit heavy. I found that when I used my usual adhesive, the one in the runner, to adhere my watercolor paper down onto my base, it lifted sometimes. So I am using our double-sided adhesive sheets, which I cut into strips. This is really strong adhesive and it works great when you're working with heavier paper or cardstock. For the more narrow areas around the sentiment die cut, I just use some liquid adhesive to adhere that portion onto my card base. Next, I'm going to start adding the center pieces to the negative portions of my die cut sentiment. I use the entire die cut letter to help me position that center piece. So as you can see, I'm only adding a tiny drop of liquid adhesive to that center piece. Then I add the entire letter plus that center into the negative space, and then I lift just the letter away from the panel, leaving that center area perfectly positioned. Now I'm going to get started on my second pair of cards because I want to utilize the die cut letters from that first pair of cards because I don't want to waste, and I'm just going to whip up some quick watercolored panels to use up those gorgeously watercolored die cut letters from the first pair of cards. So I'm using the same color burst for the second pair of panels. However, I'm using a much more diluted version of the color burst for the second pair of panels. I want the background panels to be more lighter and softer so that the die cut sentiment from the first card can really shine through for the second pair of cards. So after I painted the two panels, I set them aside to dry, and then I die cut the same sentiments into the same areas onto these panels. Then I cut 4 strips from our silver ribbed glitter adhesive paper, and I'm going to adhere the strips onto the left and right sides of my side folding A2 card base. Then I'm going to adhere my die cut panels onto the base. This is going to be the same for both the orange and the blue and purple cards. Next, I'm going to just adhere all of those die cut letters from my first pair of cards right into the negative areas of my second pair of cards, making sure to include those center pieces of the letters. At first, I thought this might be a little tedious fitting all the letters back into the negative spaces, but it's kind of like a puzzle, and it was really enjoyable and therapeutic to make. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with the second pair of die cut sentiments from these softer panels. I set them aside on my craft desk. I'm not going to throw them out, but I guess I'll just use them on another project. So I made 4 cards today using our Daisy close-up stamps and our word plate dies to make 4 gorgeous and easy cards. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time. Bye!